Dr. John Patrick Card is a board-certified internal medicine physician who is passionate about community and helping people. He was born and raised in the city of Chicago, Illinois. He received his Bachelor's of Science degree in Medical Technology from Howard University College of Allied Health Science in 1990. Following his graduation from Howard, he returned to Illinois where he received his Doctor of Medicine degree at Loyola University Strict School of Medicine in 1994 and completed his internal medicine residency in 1997. He has been practicing medicine in Winston-Salem, North Carolina since 1997 and currently serves as a physician executive leader for Winston-Salem Internal and Family Medicine Clinics. Dr. Card is a proud member of the Psi Phi chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Incorporated. Woo. He has served as chair of various committees and was recognized twice as the Omega Man of the Year. Omega Man. Did you wear the old t-shirt today? Through the grace of God, he has been blessed with a wonderful wife of 25 years. Allison, let's give her a hand. And two amazing children, Alexandria and Jonathan. To the St. Peter's Church and family, let's stand and receive Dr. John P. Card as he comes and speaks.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. I want to also thank Bishop and Mrs. Hash, also the St. Peter's Outreach family as well for welcoming my wife and I into your home. It's a special place. I can see that already. And this is hard to follow all that's gone on so far, but hopefully we'll be able to continue that uplift and enrich some lives here as well, too. We also want to take just a quick moment to thank Joe, thank Ashley, and thank Michelle for helping me prepare for today's conversation with you. I hope you're okay with me staying down here. I feel a little more comfortable than being up on stage because, again, we're here to have a conversation with you all today. So thank you for that. And if you would allow me at this moment to just acknowledge my wife, Allison, again. She's my love and my support and is always there for me. So I love you and I acknowledge you as well. Thank you. With her, she's always encouraged me to understand how important it is to take care of self. This has been something that we tend to lose sight of. And for our graduates, again, congratulations. But I hope that if one thing you take from the discussion today is that you take care of self. Take care of yourself, because in order for you to be able to help take care of others, you have to take care of you as well. You'll have some of that through the spiritual wellness that Pastor Hash has given, and hopefully with some of the information today. We're going to move forward with the next slide. And we're going to just talk again about some of those stages of wellness. First of which, why is it important? I know I'm here today to also talk a little bit about men's health, but it's all of our health as well. So men's health is vitally important, and most of that, I'm sure there's a female of some sort, be it a mom, a sister, a wife, a daughter, that may be encouraging us to try to get and be seen for ourselves as well, too. So I'm going to speak a little bit about everybody's part in that as well, too. So that's why we're here and having that conversation as well. We can have the next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about knowing the importance of your history. So not only your medical history as it relates to hypertension, diabetes, cancer, stroke, any of those things that occur, but it's also important to know your family's history as well. Some of us are blessed and fortunate to know that, some of us aren't. Some of us are adopted, and therefore we may not know some of that history. But whatever you can find out, have that conversation with those that you can in order to understand what your health may be like in years to come as well. Understanding the importance of social history is that as it relates to those that smoke, those that drink any alcohol, those that are doing any other activities that maybe need some assistance with as well, too. All of that's important. All of that is what's going to help you as you move towards a wellness within yourself as well. So you have to be able to acknowledge any and all of that goes on in your life and in your history as well. Next slide. Part of that history also comes about with knowing your medications that you're taking. A lot of us, might be taking certain pills, and unfortunately, not really understanding what those medicines are. And that's, a disservice on our part as providers, if that's the case. And I would hope that if one thing also you learn from today is to be able to ask your providers about what those medicines are. Understand what it is and why you take what you take, but also understanding how to take it as well. Some folks, unfortunately, get placed on a diabetes medicine, a sugar pill, or a high cholesterol medicine, and still feel like they can go out and have that banana pudding and that fried chicken and all that good stuff that we're used to enjoying as well. But we have to understand that some things we have to start to change and moderate as it relates to that. The medicine only helps us a little bit. It's still going to be what we do that helps us out more so. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. As it relates to vitamins and supplements, there's a lot of that now on the market. And I just want to caution you to just be careful about some of that as well, too. Vitamins and supplements, we don't know very much about, and we're still learning about that as well, too. But because we don't know much about it, there's a safety to that as well, too. Not to say all of it is bad, but I won't say all of it is good either. And some of that can interact with the medicines that you're already prescribed, or it may interact with your own health as well. So please, if there's anything that you're taking, you're seeing your provider, let them know. Let them know, what you're taking. Because if they prescribe something different for you or have a plan to try to help you with certain conditions, it may affect how well you do with that as well, too. And I'll speak to the men on a certain aspect here, and hopefully Pastor and Bishop will forgive me on this one, but there's some other supplements out there that are quoted for enhancement purposes as well. So we are talking about men's health as well, so I thought I'd bring that up if that's okay. But I would caution you also to be careful about those that tote that they'll help enhance certain aspects of your health and things too. None of that has been proven. And it actually may cause some harm. So again, if anything you have a question about, concerned about, an interest in, please have that conversation with your providers as it relates to that as well, too. Next slide. So the physical exam. So this is when you actually are seen by your provider. They're hopefully gone through your history, gone through medications, vitamins, supplements, and things that you've been taken or prescribed, and then they're going to get ready to examine you. So why is that important? The reason why that's important is that that's the way that we're able to identify conditions that may be going on in your body that you may not be feeling or otherwise aware of. So that can be looking in your ears, that can be listening to your heart and lungs, that can be feeling around your belly, moving those joints, trying to see what you can and can't do because of aches and creaks and swellings and things of that nature that may be going on as well. And it adds to that aspect of health and wellness once you can have an understanding of what the body feels and sounds like as well. I think a lot of folks feel like they're in tune to their body and they know what's going on with that, and I commend you. I think that's excellent. But also be aware that there may be just certain aspects of it that we may not be aware of, and that's where that physical exam becomes important as well. Other parts of that physical exam, some of us as men, we don't like, but we do it, and I want to encourage everyone to do it, and that's that prostate exam or digital rectal exam that we go through about once a year. For men who are 40 years and up, especially our African American population, should start talking to your providers about your prostate exams. Okay? It shouldn't be a taboo. It's there in order to try to help identify any changes that are going on in that prostate. Again, not something that you would necessarily feel, but can be determined through the exam as well. And then I'll speak to our women, making sure that you're also having your gynecologic exams as well, which include your pelvic and pap smears as well, too. So all of that is highly important, vitally important, and ways to try to help catch certain disease processes before they become something major in the future as well. Preventive care, this is something that I'm passionate about as well. I think that a lot of health issues that we have can be preventable, but we have to do our part. You know, one thing I talk about in my office is it's a team approach to taking care of you. And that team is not just the provider, but my nursing staff, my front desk staff, my lab. But there's also one other vital member of that team, and that's you. That's you as the patient. So if one part of that team is not functioning well or doing their part, it can kind of drag things along, and it may not help that team be as efficient as they need to be as well. So you have to remember that you are a part of that team when it comes to taking care of your health as well. So the ways we try to work towards prevention is, one, screening exams. That one we talked about before with the prostate exam, the digital rectal exam, the pelvic exam for our women, mammograms as well. And I think it's important for men to understand that of women's health as well, too. So again, this is not all about just individual, but really the whole family and the whole unit as it relates to health care. In addition to that, there's that colonoscopy. Now, colonoscopy is that other vital screening exam, and it's considered what we in medicine call the gold standard as it relates to screening for colon cancer. Now, there are some other new techniques out there that you hear about. There's one that's called a DNA stool test in order to try to help also screen for colon cancer. It's been developed really as a way to still screen folks who have some concerns with having a colonoscopy. However, with that, it only helps to detect the potential DNA that's there. It doesn't help to really see if there are polyps there or things that actually grow into a colon cancer. So if that comes back positive, or if you still have any health issues such as rectal bleeding or stool changes or abdominal pain or things of that nature, it still may be important that you have your colonoscopy performed as well. Okay? So those are some of the screening exams as it relates to health and wellness. You'll see vaccines up there. Vaccines are also important. Vaccines has helped us to try to eradicate certain disease processes like polio. At one time, measles, mumps, and rubella. Unfortunately, or for whatever reason that may be, some folks have not chosen to be immunized or have not chosen to have their children immunized. That's a choice. That's not something we're here to debate or argue today. But just to say that the reason for the vaccines were there to try to help eradicate these potential life-threatening disease processes. So we do encourage people to really think about and hopefully receive their vaccines. Again, with the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine being in the news today, for those folks who were born between the years of 1962 to 67, you really should consider getting an updated MMR or measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. Talk to your providers about that, and they can help you with that as well, too. Other vaccines to consider, the flu shot. I know, again, for some folks, concerns about the flu shot, history of vaccines and how that hasn't been, very favorable to our community. However, I'm here to say that I do believe that it's definitely been a change since those times as well, too. The flu vaccine not only helps you as it relates to being able to take care if you become in contact with the flu virus, but it also helps those around you with it. And I think that's the one piece that we sometimes forget, that if you're carrying a virus, then you're spreading it to everyone around you as well, too. So when we ask for you to try to get your flu vaccine, it's yes to help you, but it's to help those around you as well, too. That should be a yearly thing, and I will suggest that the best time of the year to get it is between September and November. That's the best time because it takes time for that black flu vaccine to be effective when the season starts to hit. We've had a lot of deaths in North Carolina because of the flu, and a lot of that is we're still encouraging people to really get their flu shots as well. The pneumonia vaccine, also important. The pneumonia vaccine is one to help, again, in case you come in contact with the bacteria of pneumonia, it helps your body be able to fight it better. So you're building up your defenses is what these vaccines help to do. And in turn, hopefully reduce the potential severity associated with pneumonia, which the endpoint is death with that as well, too. So for folks who have health conditions such as diabetes, renal disease, heart disease, cancers, or immunosuppressive processes other than that, we do encourage you to get at least your first pneumonia vaccine, your pneumonia shot. And then at age 65, you'll hear about getting the pneumonia shot again. But there are two of them at that time. There's the regular one that we like to speak about, and then there's the not so new, but newer one called the Prevnar 13. Both of them are important. And the reason why there's two is because when they developed the Prevnar 13, it was originally developed for our youth, our kids, our children. But they found out that for our folks that are older, that it offers them benefit as well. It just wasn't in the original pneumonia shot. So they haven't come up to make it all one vaccine, which is why there's two that you take for that after 65. The other one that's important is your tetanus shot. Your tetanus shot's important because that's the one that helps with that condition called lockjaw. That is not a comfortable condition to have, and for some can be life-threatening as well, too. So the tetanus shot we get throughout our years, growing up, about every 10 years, you should really be getting that as well. And then recently, you may have heard about the newer tetanus shot called the Tdap, or the tetanus with pertussis vaccine in it. The reason that came about was, again, we thought we had eradicated pertussis, which is whooping cough. Found out that it was starting to reemerge, especially here in North Carolina again. So we've been offering a one-time Tdap in order to try to help build that resistance to that as well, and then going back to your every 10-year tetanus shot. None of those are live vaccines, so there's no risk of you getting any of those conditions by receiving the vaccine. Okay, even the flu shot. The flu shot is not a live virus vaccine, so we are not giving you the flu when you're getting a flu shot. We're just giving you some antigens of flu viruses that have been common to us to try to help build up that immunity. Okay? And then the last one I wanted to speak on as far as the vaccines is the Zostavax, or shingles vaccine. So the shingles vaccine, I left that for the end because that one is a little different. That one originally was designed as a live virus vaccine. So in essence, you were receiving parts of the virus to try to help build up your immune system to be able to fight off the severity if you were to have shingles. Shingles is a reactivation of the virus that causes chickenpox. So as kids, we may have had chickenpox, exposed to chickenpox, had the rash, the itching at home for a week, there have you. And that virus lives in your systems. So at any point, any time, any reason, that virus can pop up. And that's where it comes about as that form of shingles. It's usually a rash on one part of the body. And it's not really the rash, but it's what follows, and that's the pain. There's a lot of pain that can be associated with that shingles virus. So they came up with a vaccine in order to try to help reduce or minimize the amount of pain that that you would incur. But since that time of when the original shingles vaccine came out, they developed a new one. Shingrix is what that one is called. That one is not a live virus vaccine. So therefore, your chances of getting shingles after receiving the vaccine is very minimum to none type deal. But it's there again designed to try to help reduce the potential severity of shingles. That one's a little different, and I want you to be informed about this, is that it's a 2-shot system, which means that you would get 1 shot at the time you receive it, and then you would need to get the second shot within 2 to 6 months of that first one. There's been some difficulty in keeping it in the pharmacies, so there was a time where folks were just scrambling to try to find that second shot, and that became a problem because if you wait till after the 6 months to receive your vaccine, then it's not as effective. But you don't start over. So we still would recommend you still get it, but we then have to understand that it's just not going to be as effective if you get it beyond that 6-month mark. But still can be very helpful in that aspect as well. And then there's the importance of diet and exercise. So when it comes back to talking about self, this is the part where you come in. So this is the part that only you really have a lot of control over. You have the control over what you take into your body and how you expend energy through the form of exercise. So when we talked again earlier about the team approach, this is where I'm looking for your help in this. When we talk about the need to cut back on the sodium in the diet, cutting back on some of the fatty and fried food products, trying to cut back on some of those starchy, complex carbohydrates and sugars that we love, some of that sweet tea. Yes. And that lemonade and soda and Mountain Dew and Dr. Peppers and all that. I need you guys to do that. That's something that we can't do for you in that instance. So we need your help. And I try to encourage folks, don't think of it as you got to give it all up. That's not what it's about. We're not saying you got to give all of it up. We're just saying you got to cut back on some of it as well. And that's all. And I think that if we're able to do that, you start to notice changes going on in your body, good changes going on in your body. And then you incorporate exercise into that plan as well. And exercise doesn't have to mean that you join a gym. You don't have to join a gym to exercise. You can walk, you can cycle, you can dance.
Yes!
You can dance. Yes. Dancing is an outstanding exercise. But you want to do things that you enjoy, because that's what's going to keep you doing it. Okay? So when we see our youth, we see our older folks out there on the dance floor doing what they do, they exercise and encourage that as well. That's good for them as well. We've come into a society where we're not getting our kids out there exercising anymore.
Right.
And they're sitting and they're doing a lot of just table work, and we're missing out on that. There was a time when we were out doing a lot more work, a lot more activities, and we're not doing those things anymore. So whenever you can get in that opportunity, try to do so. At least 30 minutes. At least 30 minutes is what is asked. And that doesn't have to be all at once. Folks are busy. Folks have different things that are going on. Try to get 10 minutes throughout the day to try to help with that as well, too. And I would encourage you to get a buddy. Get a friend to do it with you. One thing I also learned from my wife is that she has a group that she works out with every morning. And I commend her. She gets up at about 4:30 every morning. And I can't get up at 4:30 every morning. But she does, and she's committed. And they contact each other to say, hey, where are you? Why aren't you here? Or are you going to be here to help? And I think that encouragement of others helps to keep us there and present in that as well, too. So maybe a church group, and you guys might already be doing this as well, where you have a church group that gets together and works out and do things as well. For those that have difficulty with the walking and cycling, there's what they call sitting exercises or sit-exercise. So there's still activities that can be done even though we may feel we have some limitations. The way to help us through those limitations, though, is to get the body moving as well, too. Other things are like Tai Chi or yoga, warm water therapy, so getting into the pool. All of that could be beneficial exercises and will help you as well with health and wellness, too. So that is most of what I really wanted to discuss with the family here today. And I really, if it's fine, wanted to open it up to some questions and therefore hopefully be able to help out where I can there as well. I know I didn't explain things that well.
Amen. If you have any questions, please come to the mics that we have to the right and to my left, please.
You mentioned supplements. I take one-a-day vitamin 50 plus over. Is that a good supplement?
That's a great supplement.
Okay.
And let me explain, since you brought that up, and I thank you for that. When it comes to multivitamins, one of the key aspects to that is that, again, busy lifestyles, if we're not quite getting the vegetables and fruits and nutrients in our diet, then the one-a-day for 50 plus for women, for men, is a great vitamin supplement to take to try to help offset some of that as well.
Yes.
So, excellent. Yes, sir.
You was talking about some of the shots, like shingle shots and stuff like that. If your physician is not automatically telling you to take these things, you're saying for us to tell him, hey.
I would encourage you, yes. I would encourage you to bring that up to your visits with your providers. It's something that sometimes, and I just will speak generally, sometimes people get distracted in how they're taking care of someone. Someone may be coming in for certain issues, and therefore you get focused on that issue. But hopefully at some point, again, not forgetting the whole picture as well, too. So if you have a question about your vaccines, a question about anything, your medicines, your health, or something like that that you don't feel is being addressed, I encourage you to ask that or speak that to your provider as well. And they should be very open to that as well, too.
Cut the card. Is it on? I've had shingles before. Should I have the shingles vaccine?
Excellent question. She asked if there was.
She just stated.
Yep. She had asked if you had shingles before. Should you still have the shingles vaccine? Used to be that we thought that if folks had shingles at some point in their past, that no, they had already built up an immunity. What we've learned from that is that yes, they've built up an immunity. However, it doesn't seem to quite help them with the next time it comes up type deal. So we are still encouraging folks, even though if they've had shingles, to still get their shingles vaccine, as studies suggest that it does still help to reduce that potential severity. And again, with the shingles vaccine, it's not to say that you will not get shingles from getting the vaccine, nor flu, pneumonia shot, or any of that stuff. It's just there to say that it'll help try to not make it as severe. Thank you. Great question. Good to see you.
Hi there. It's a two-part question. One, I've taken on a position almost a year ago working third shift. Never worked third shift in my life. And I'm feeling somewhat unbalanced as it pertains to being able to exercise, being able to eat right. And I find that I'm eating, because I work third shift, it's like my lunchtime is 3 o'clock in the morning. But then on my days off, I revert back to a regular schedule. And so I don't know if you have any recommendations on how to temper that so that I'm doing better. Of course, along with finding that time to exercise and not feeling so fatigued and tired. My second question is, do our primary care doctors have like a template that tells us when these tests or vaccines need to be addressed or taken. Like I work with the public, and so of course there's some concerns with the various, the tests that need to be done. How do I know when and what?
Great. Excellent questions. To address your first one as it relates to what I call shift work. Shift work can be very complicated because you're right. Your life, your days are not the same as the majority of folks' days are. So from what I understand from folks who work the later shift, they're even still doing things during the daytime because that's when everybody else is doing things as well. So the best thing I can really encourage you to do with that is still be mindful of your eating habits, even if it's during that time of day, which is okay because that's your day. It's different from my day, which is earlier and then sleep by that time. But that's your time, and that's where you need that body's energy to be able to function and do what you need to do. But then trying to figure out how to incorporate the exercise is really the hard part. And like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be a set 30, 40 minutes that you're going somewhere to try to do it. Try to get about 10 minutes in there in between throughout points of the day as well, too. If you get a break, take you a little something. Go for a little walk around, your facility where you're working at and things of that nature, and all of that can still be beneficial from that standpoint. As for your second question, there is protocols, templates, things of that nature to help providers be able to have conversations with our patients to let them know when it's time to try to get certain vaccines, when to get certain laughs, which I didn't touch on today, but all of that, yes, it's there, and it's a matter of feeling comfortable enough to have that conversation with your provider. And I think that's vitally important. One thing from that is to just say that you need to feel comfortable with your provider. You need to be able to have conversation with them. You need to be able to talk to them about any and everything, to be honest with you. So if you don't have that kind of comfort level, doesn't mean they're a bad provider, but it just may mean it may be time to look for somebody who you can have that conversation
with. It's amazing you said that because I was just thinking that as a female and I'm getting older and we're talking about menopause and all of that, I have a male doctor and I've had him for years, and the PA that I was seeing was a female and she's no longer there, and I'm like, I'm feeling real uncomfortable about continuing services with a male provider. But thank you for all the information.
And I'll just say to that, I'm being a male provider as well. I feel totally comfortable having those conversations with my female patients as well. But it's still a connection. So it needs to make sure that you're feeling that comfort level there as well. And sometimes it's just opening that door. I think with the fact that you've had that conversation with your PA, he just hasn't been able to develop that relationship with you yet.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Dr. Card, there's an increase with measles in America. Could you speak to that? Because some mothers are afraid of having their babies vaccinated. Could you speak to that a little bit and the safety behind that?
Yes. So there is this rise of measles, as we spoke about earlier. And unfortunately, it's because, like we said, there are families, there are cultures that just don't believe in vaccines. And unfortunately, that's brought about a rise in measles in our society, somewhat to the point of death, and especially it can affect our older family members as well, too. So the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine is very safe, is very effective, and it helps to, again, reduce that severity if you were to come in contact with measles. Studies show that, there's really very little harm that you're going to receive by getting the vaccine, except a little shot in the arm, which might be a little sore for a day or so. But I highly encourage people to really look into that. And again, those that were born between the years of 1962 to 67, you're the ones that really need to look into getting an updated measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, because the ones you received may not have been effective during those years, but they have been since then.
I take the Omega XL. It's a fish oil supplement. I was wondering if that was good to take.
I do believe that the fish oil supplements are very helpful. They have a few benefits, one of which is that they can help you with cardiovascular health, heart healthiness. They can also help you with your triglycerides and things of that nature that are part of the fatty lipid panel. but also may help with joints and joint health as well too. So yes, that is a supplement that I do encourage people to consider if they want to try it and take as well.
I would like to ask, what do you think is contributing to the rash of people that are coming up with allergies in this last decade or score of years? I'm born in '67, and up to 30. I never saw this many people coming up with allergies, skin allergies, eczema, children born with peanut allergies. What do you think is present in our, in the environment that is contributing to this rash of allergies that we're seeing in society?
Great question as well. And for some, I will say that to talk more globally, the global warming aspect of things has been has had a big effect on our ability to not be so exposed to pollen and allergens and things of that nature. The lack of rain, even though we have rain moments, doesn't help to wash away a lot of that pollen and stuff from us, so therefore it's around a lot longer than it had been. So for folks who have not been history of allergies, are now starting to have the sneezy, watery eyes and things of that nature, those are irritants. It's those irritants and allergens that's causing that as well too. So part of it is our global society and what we live in right now. And part of it could also be just us, how we grow up now. Again, we used to be outside running around doing things and really exposed to a lot of that early, where now we're inside so much that once you get outside, that's like a new effect for you there as well. So I think some of that has something to do with that as well. And yes, safety in our society may not be how it used to be, which is part of that concern and how we've gotten to where we've gotten as well. But just to speak on that is just to say that I think some of those are some of the elements as to why we're feeling like we're having more people suffering from allergy-related illnesses such as eczema or hay fever and asthma as well.
So I've never had chickenpox. I never had it as a child. And so I've been trying to figure out, just how to maneuver around. Do I need a vaccine, whether it's the chickenpox, the shingles, or what? My brother had the same situation, did not have chickenpox as a child, but he ended up getting it at age 40. So I'm just, I'm wondering, is that something I need to bring up with my provider and have that conversation, or what?
Yes, I think it's still a great conversation to have with your providers. For our children now, they're actually receiving the varicella vaccine, which is the chickenpox vaccine, if they haven't been exposed to it by a certain age. For some folks, even though they may not have had the actual full-blown chickenpox, they may have been exposed to someone who has, and that could have been their brother or cousin or whatever. They used to say, hey, you got chickenpox, let's all get them together, and that way get that exposure going as well. So, but there was some good to that, to be honest with you, as well, now that we are at this point. But it may still be in your system. So sometimes there are titers that can sometimes be performed if there's a major just concern or really just want to know. But as far as receiving the vaccine, especially the shingles vaccine after age 50, which I didn't explain before, we still will encourage you, even though you haven't had the actual breakout of chickenpox as a child. There's still benefit and no extra harm to that as well.
I do have a question as she comes. There's another question about our society. We've seen a shift toward hemp and CBD. Could you speak to that?
Excellent question, Pastor. So as you're aware, yes, there's hemp oils that are now available. States that actually have legalized the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes, some of which not. But there are some studies that show that the use of hemp or THC can be helpful, especially in children who have certain seizure or neurologic disorders. And I will say for some of our cancer survivors or those that are going through issues with cancer, that it does help them with the pain aspect of things as well, too. Now, the concern with that is that we haven't had any great studies to really show that it helps everybody either, okay? So, folks have come to me and asked, well, help my joint pain or help my anxiety and all of this, and unfortunately, I can't support it. I try to base a lot of what we encourage or advise based on some type of scientific evidence or at least clinical evidence or something of that nature. So as of right now, we are trying to do more studies to really look at the beneficial effects of it. So that is one of those that I also would caution folks. But if you're doing it, please let your providers know what you're doing, okay? For some folks, they might get tested. And if you get tested, that's going to come up positive, and that could be a problem down the road otherwise.
Shingles. So I've had shingles at least 2 times. And of course, I don't qualify for the vaccines, right? So what is it that I can do to prevent this from happening?
Excellent question. And one of the things when it comes to shingles, unfortunately, we cannot identify who's going to have shingles. Even though you may have had chickenpox in the past, things of that nature, doesn't mean you'll ever have shingles in your life type deal. One of the things we do know is that when your body is under stress in some form or fashion, it doesn't have to always be a physical stress. It may be an emotional, it may be a mental stress that's going on there. That's when that virus likes to thrive, and that's when it comes out. So when asked earlier about having shingles in the past, it can come back. And we used to think that it wouldn't if you've had it once. Your body's immune. But that's where eventually by age 50, we would definitely recommend you consider getting your vaccine, though, as well, too. But as far as otherwise, being healthy, eating right, getting your rest, and finding ways to just try to help keep your body from stress. And that would be the thing. All right.
We have 2 more minutes for questions, so if you want to get your question in, please come up now before we close it. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So for the past 4 or 5 years, when I go get my physicals, they do my blood work, my CK levels would always come back high. In one instance, a nurse called me late on that night and asked me how I was feeling. If I felt bad, I needed to go to the emergency room. My wife and I looked it up. I think I'm saying creatine kinesis, if I'm saying that right. That they came back astronomically high. Did I work out? Am I overworking myself? And so this past year, I asked my doctor, well, every time I get my blood work, this comes back high. And 1 year, you guys kind of just made me afraid to work out, play ball, things like that. So when I finally asked him this year, he said, well, I'm glad you asked, because when we do studies, we normally do them on Caucasian men. In African-American males, they run higher. So could you speak on what we could do as African-American males so we're not doing a detriment to ourselves? Because for a long time, I stopped working out. I stopped playing ball as much as I did because I didn't want to overwork myself. Right. Because one of the things that came up was like heart attack, things like that. Right. So where I'm thinking I'm doing a justice to myself by like, yo, let me calm down, I'm actually was doing a detriment to myself because I stopped working out. I stopped doing things that were active. But because we don't know as African-American men what we need to do, because, again, most tests are run on Caucasian males, could you speak on, as an African-American male, especially a young African-American male, what can I do, what do I not need to do so that I'm remaining healthy?
Great question as well. With that, to speak specifically on that, one of the things I would encourage you, and I'm not sure you may or may not be doing this already, make sure, and this really goes to everybody too, drinking your water. So one of the things when you're working out, you're releasing that hydration from your body, which makes those muscles start to tense and release that enzyme, creatine kinase enzyme. So you're right, and certain individuals will see a higher rate of that. If it gets too high, it can lead to kidney damage and things of that nature. So one of the keys is that, one, knowing what it is, okay, and that's, again, having a conversation with your provider. Sometimes we'll have our folks do a little muscle biopsy just to make sure there's no immunologic or some type of process that's causing that rise in that enzyme as well. If we can say that came back unremarkable, you're feeling great, you're working out, you're exercising, then it's more or less a matter of just understanding that that's what that is. But remembering to hydrate. You got to remember to hydrate. For most folks, you need to get at least about 64 ounces of water daily. That's about 4 bottles every day. And for some, it's even more than that. Someone, yourself, you should probably be getting almost about 100 ounces or more of water a day. And that can help to reduce that level so that you're exercising, feeling great, and doing those things as well, too. So for us as African-American males, no, I'm as you heard me earlier, we got to do all of those things in order for us to stay healthy as well, too. We just have to know our history, our medical well-being, in order for us to be able to accomplish those goals as well, too. So, great question, my friend. Great question.
This is a flu question. Some of my family members have gotten the flu shot, but they've gotten sick with it. So they was like, the flu shot gave me the flu. Is that true or is that false? Because one of them ended up in the hospital for like after he got the flu shot. Mm-hmm. He got sick and he was like, the flu shot gave me the flu and I'm not going to take the flu shot anymore. So is that true?
And I'm going to say this, you can hold me to this as well. The flu shot will not give you the flu. Okay? It won't do it.
So why did they get sick?
What can happen is that the virus could always... No, it's a great question. And I hear that often about that as well. The virus could already still be in your system. Okay? So the flu vaccine is there to try to help your body be able to respond to it. So it builds up these defense mechanisms in your body so that when it sees it, it's going to start working towards it. If it's in there, you've been given the vaccine, after a couple of weeks, that's seeing that and it's trying to now attack it, which is what can bring about that feeling of, the shot made me sick. There's absolutely nothing in that flu shot in order to give you the flu.
Okay, and so is flu a lot of fling? Is that what it is? Flu is cold and a lot of fling and all that stuff? It's
bad cold and bad phlegm. It's the bad part of just a cold virus. So the fevers, the headaches, the muscle aches,
yes,
that's all part of that virus that's going on
all
there.
Right.
So a little bit more than what that cold gives you.
Okay, and just one more. About that, you said drink water, and I play sports, and so that's why. A lot of people are substituting those drinks, Gatorades and stuff, and they're not drinking water like on the softball field anymore. And they're bringing the Gatorades and stuff. And I'm from the old school. I was born in the 50s, and so I'm still doing my water. And so, is that bad to substitute the Gatorades and stuff and not drink the water?
Your water is your mainstay. The water, pure water, is still, that's God's gift. I mean, that's what that is, and that's why we use that. The supplemented water, I will say, if you're vigorously working out, you want to try to replenish some of those vitamins and minerals that you've expended through your workout, sure, have you one of those.
So you just drink them together?
Yes,
okay,
definitely. But the water is still the key to all of that type deal.
Okay, in 2017, I was diagnosed with diabetes, so I immediately started doing stuff. And there was A1C was 6.7, and now it's about 5.7, and I've lost 110 pounds. But I check my blood sugars every day, and there's times when it stays at 80s, and then my weight stays, and then sometimes it'll, the last couple of weeks, it's been 100, 102, 108, and then my weight will drop, and I'm like, but my doctor says everything is fine, so I'm like, but why is that?
I think
my diet's the same and I'm exercising the same.
What can happen is if you're doing the same, your body starts to adjust to the same. So you now have to change it up. So that means you may have to adjust some of the eating habits. or adjust your exercise?
Because right now I exercise about 5 times a week, at least an hour each time. And I actually enjoy it. It's actually my thing now. So
Excellent. Excellent. And if your numbers are that, your provider's correct. I mean, those are excellent.
So I'm just paranoid then.
No. Continue to do what you're doing. And I think that's a great segue to just say that that helps us as providers to know what you're doing in order to try to help you stay encouraged in that as well. So even though, and weight is one of those things that you can hit plateaus with that as well. So I try to say, don't look at your scales, just look at how you feel.
Non-scale victories is what my doctor
There
calls
you
it.
go. Right.
Yeah,
How
okay,
clothes
right.
are fitting on you and everything as well, too. Your numbers are looking great. Just continue to do what you're doing. That's outstanding, really.
All right, thank you.
There's a lot of buzz about the Mediterranean diet. Is this a good thing or bad thing or what?
Out of all the diets that you're here about, and thank you for bringing that up as well, there are so many diets out there, so many fad diets that are out there. Will they help you lose weight? Yeah. I mean, it's a change in what you're normally doing. So eventually something should help you with that weight loss with that. But as out of all of them, the Mediterranean diet is the one that I actually encourage people to do. It's the one that's been shown to truly help with heart healthiness, but it also helps with weight management and weight loss as well. It's a diet that's composed of mostly fruits, vegetables, good fibers, and lean meats or lean proteins, whatever that may be, fish, chicken, even lean portions of beef as well, too. So, yes, I do encourage the Mediterranean diet. I think it's very healthy, heart healthy, and will help you with the weight loss as well, too. When it comes to weight loss, diet is your key to losing weight. Exercise is your key to maintaining the weight you're losing. So remember that. Even though you're exercising and not losing weight, you're building muscle. Muscle weighs more than fat, but it's there to help maintain the weight you're losing through your diet.
Being born in the 50s and I'm now in my 60s, I'm uncertain if I've ever had the measles or the chicken pox. Should I proceed to talk to my provider about my next step?
I would say yes. Not to say that you necessarily will need a vaccine, but I think it's important to have that conversation with your provider. They may be able to help guide you in a way that you feel comfortable with. And if there's really some concern, we actually have the ability to check what we call titers. And that's your body's has already built up an immunity to certain disease processes. And that's one way to just say, oh, yeah, you've been exposed at some point, even though you didn't have the physical manifestations of that process.
St. Peter's, let's stand and give Dr. Card a hand. Thank you, sir, for what you've done. And the scripture says, I wish above all that you prosper and be in health. And God has used you to speak to our people today, and we just thank you for your words. And I know Bishop has some words to say to you. But again, St. Peter's, let's give him a hand one more time.
Again, Dr. Hart, thank you for coming, teaching us how to live a longer life.
No, I appreciate you, Bishop. Thank you very much.
We all do want to live a lot longer, and your words were such a blessing to us. And again, you got to come back and give us a conclusion of it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Bishop.
Bless you. But also, I wanted to give due recognition to his wife. They introduced her as Allison. That's Dr. Allison Card, in the name of the Lord. And we just want to recognize her for she and I worked together as a board of director for the city of Winston-Salem. She's so intelligent. You're blessed.
I am
I'm going to tell you something else. You like me, you married up.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
But anyway, again, let's give Dr. John Carter such a great hand of applause for giving us such a wonderful. St. Peter's, this is a great church because we have people like you that is on board, assisting Joy and I to do what God has called us to do. And we are having such a great impact upon our city, our nation, and our world. But everything that we do is according to the grace and the faith and the love of God, which is the faith of God. As you know, we set out at the beginning of the year, we set our goal for certain things to happen, and they are happening continually. But a lot has to do with prayer, fasting, obedience to God's commands, which is His word, because God responds to us based on how we respond to Him. And also, every first Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we fast up until 3 o'clock each day. So next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the month of June, we will do our days of fasting. I assume that you saw the night that you were scheduled to come out and pray over in the admin building from 7 to 8 each night, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you could, I'll be out there waiting on you to help us to pray continually that God continue to bring to pass what He promised us in His word. Know the night that you are assigned to come out and pray, and if possible, make a sacrifice for the cause of God. And when you make sacrifice for God, you position yourself for God to respond to you in everything that we do. Again, the days of our fasting is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then we have Wednesday night Bible study, which I will be teaching. Now, again, to the graduates, keep up the good work, and the best is yet to come. And I know you made many sacrifices to get to where you are, but you're on the road to your destiny is so great. Keep God out front. And guess what? You'll never be behind in life. So if each one of you would stand right now, let's give them a great hand of applause for their work and their labor of love. And we're going to dismiss our graduates right now. If you could, we're going to release our graduates to march out while they're marching out. But the honor bearers, don't they look good? Give them a great hand of applause. Yes. Well, you may stand, please, and you are dismissed. Enjoy.